Printing and exporting reports. There are many new ways to print and export reports in Access 2013. In this lesson, we'll introduce you to them and show you how to do them. If you're used to printing in Microsoft Word, you may at first feel a bit frustrated when trying to print a report correctly in Access 2013. It isn't because it can't be done, it's because there are a few extra steps you need to take in order for the reports to print correctly and in a pleasing manner. To illustrate the possible issues, we're going to show you a report we've run on the table we've created called Books. In this example, we've selected Layout View. To get here, we went to the Design tab of the Report Layout Tools and clicked on the View button. In this view, we're able to change the way that the report looks. In Print Preview, we can only see an exact replica of the way it will print, not alter it. If you look closely, you'll see some dotted lines, on the left here and in the middle of the report. These dotted lines represent the edge of the printable area. They're like the margins in Microsoft Word. Now if we open up Print Preview mode, we can see exactly what the report would look like when it's printed. Notice the right side of the page and how the column was cut off in the exact place the dotted lines or the margins appeared in the design view. The portion of the report that fell to the right of the margin is going to print as well, of course, but on a separate page. This is obviously not an acceptable way to print the report. There's an easy way to fix it though, if page orientation is not an issue. Go to the Page Setup tab. Right now, the page is set to print in portrait mode. We can tell because Access has highlighted the portrait button. To change the layout, simply select Landscape. Now we can go back to Print Preview mode and see what the page will look like. You can see it looks a bit better, but you may have to adjust the columns until they all fit on the page, or even choose to remove some of them. Every option involves compromise, of course, so it's really just a matter of finding a solution that you are satisfied with. Earlier in this lesson, I introduced you to the dotted lines in Layout View and likened them to margins in Microsoft Word. That is exactly what they are. Now I'm going to tell you how to change them. Navigate to the Page Setup tab and click on the Page Setup button. This will launch a dialog window. Margins are defined in inches or millimeters, depending on your system settings. By default, Access 2013 applies a 1/4 inch margin, which is 6.35 millimeters as shown above, on all four sides, but you can use any margin that appeals to you. To do so, just click a field and enter a new number. As you do, the sample box on the right gives you a rough idea of what to expect. If I enter a 1 inch margin, which is 25 millimeters, you can see how the page is updated. Click OK when you're finished. The layout view for this will arrange to reflect our settings. The Print Data Only checkbox on the ribbon here allows you easily to remove borders and print only the information inside each cell. Now if you open the Page Setup dialog box and go to the Page tab, you can choose a paper source, the size of the paper, and even choose a printer. From here we can also change the orientation of the page. The Columns tab allows you to specify how many columns you'd like, the size of each column, the amount of space, and the amount of space between columns and rows. Each of these options is also available on the ribbon in Print Preview. When you finish previewing a report and are satisfied with the results, it's time to print it. You can do so by clicking the Print button on the left side of the ribbon in Print Preview. This Print button here. This will launch the print dialog. From here, you can select an available printer, specify a print range, and the number of copies. Click OK to send the report to the printer. You can also access the print tools in the Backstage view. Quick Print sends the file directly to the printer without allowing you to select any options or make any alterations for your report for easy reading. Print launches the print dialog window that we just saw, and Print Preview launches the Print Preview screen. I don't know about you, but when I hear the words exporting a report, I think of a complicated conversion process involving many steps. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Exporting is just another way of saying saving as a new file type. Access 2013 does all the work for you. All you have to do is to know where to find the tools. For the most part, Access 2013 even makes that process easier by putting them right in the ribbon. In the remainder of this lesson, we're going to show you where to find the tools and how to make sure the information you export is complete. The first thing we're going to do is run our report. If you aren't already in Report View, click on the View button to select it. Navigate to the External Data tab. This is where most of the importing and exporting tools are located. The Saved Exports button will be covered later in the lesson. For now, let's learn how to export into different formats. Use the Excel button to export your data into Microsoft Excel 95, 97 or 2003. Use the file name box to manually enter a location on your computer in which to store the exported file. You may also use the Browse button to search for a location. Use the File drop-down menu to select a file type. You can save it as Excel 5.0 or 95 or 97 to 2003 workbook. When you click OK, Access exports the file to the specified location and then asks you if you want to save the report. If you already have the file, it will ask you to overwrite the existing file. Saved exports appear in the Exports Manager. Click Save Export Steps. You'll then be asked to enter a name and description. Press Save Export to save it. Use the Text File button on the ribbon to export your report as a text file. The export screen opens, where you can enter a location for the file and choose whether you want to preserve the formatting options. When you click OK, you might be asked to override an existing file. In my example, I'll click Yes. You'll then see a small window like this. Here you select an encoding option. If you're not sure, just leave the default setting as Windows. Click OK. You'll then have the option of saving this export. Once again, click Save Export Steps and enter a description. Then click Save Export when you're done. This message indicates that the name has already been taken, so I'll need to enter a different name. Now I click Save Export again. XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It's a format for storing information. Many people confuse it with HTML, which is a format for displaying information. To export your report in XML, use the XML file button. Similar to the other exports, you'll be asked to enter a file name. Click OK. You might get asked to save the existing file. Click Yes. You may now select an option as to which information to export. You can choose to only export the data in each field, the data along with the table and field formatting, which is XSD, or the presentation of your data, which is similar to a HTML file. When you click OK, you might get asked to overwrite an existing file. You'll then be asked if you want to save this to the Saved Exports Manager. Once again, I'll enter a name and a description. Exporting to PDF is like printing your document, except that instead of a paper copy, you're getting a digital copy. XPS is a similar format to PDF, but it was created by Microsoft. Select a report and then click on the PDF or XPS button to get started. You'll then be asked to select a file location for the PDF. Enter a file name and then click on Publish. When you click OK, Access asks you if you'd like to save the export to the Saved Export Manager. In this case we won't, so just click Close. By clicking the More button in the Export group, you access different options to save the report, such as a Microsoft Word file, SharePoint list, ODBC database, and HTML document. Since the process to export each of these files is nearly identical, we won't repeat it here. If you use the same export settings frequently, you may want to save those settings. The Saved Exports button is basically the Saved Export Manager. As we discussed the export options, we saved some of them as export settings. Right now, we're going to examine the Saved Export window. Here we have the saved settings. One export is called Export Books. It has a short description, export data to an Excel file, and a location. We can edit any of this information by clicking on it and typing in something new. To run a saved report, select it from the list and click Run. To delete a report, select it and click Delete. Otherwise, close the window.